Even though this is a horror movie, I can safely say that this left me feeling anything but shook. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about a brand new Shudder release, Shook. Let me know in the comments before we begin what your thoughts on this movie were. If you already saw it, if you were excited for it, if you weren't planning on seeing it, let me know so we can discuss. Also, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these Shudder reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my channel out there. It helps the algorithm, helps me out, and I would greatly appreciate it. And if you are new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases, older films, hidden gems, and so much more on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time and let's talk about Shook. This stars Daisy Tudor as Mia, a social media star who becomes the target of an online terror campaign where she has to solve a series of games to prevent people she cares about from getting murdered. But is it real, or is it just a game at her expense? This is written and directed by Jennifer Harrington, and this is a film whose outlook is made quite clear from the beginning, which is that too much social media can be a bad thing. This isn't the first time we've seen this. It's something that has been explored in a number of films already, with some more recent examples being the docudrama The Social Dilemma, as well as the satire Spree, both from last year. And here you have Mia, who posts on her social media accounts all the time, documents nearly everything, and she's obsessed with her personal image. And it's to the point where she ignores nearly everyone around her if they can't do anything to boost her image. She's not close with her family or friends, some haven't seen her in quite some time, and even though the entire movie takes place in her sister Nicole's house where she's dog sitting for her, it's implied they don't really have the strongest relationship in general. So it's an intriguing setup, though the execution as far as having anything meaningful to say on the subject of social media is an absolute train wreck, unfortunately. After a pretty strong opening scene in which we see another social media influencer get killed by a dog killer on the loose, the film quickly loses steam. And I think part of the reason that it falls apart so quickly is that it suffers a major identity crisis. While I know every movie by this point takes some influence from an older film in some form or another, even those with technically original stories, this is trying to infuse the feel of so many other movies. It felt like the opening scene of Scream meets Phone Booth meets Saw meets Searching. It tries to mishmash all of these together, yet never really leaning too hard in one direction or the other. A lot of the film centers around Mia getting a call from a neighbor named Kellen, and he makes her play twisted games, otherwise he'll harm or kill her friends and loved ones. He makes her look certain things up on the internet, gives her yes or no questions that she'll have to answer on the spot, he'll direct her to go through certain rooms, and so on and so forth. There's initially a little bit of intrigue here, even though some of the acting feels a bit subpar. The attempts of this seemingly murderous neighbor to come off as deranged, quirky, and energetic as he taunts Mia come off as forced at times, to be quite honest, while Tudor struggles in certain moments to convincingly come off like she feels the stakes of the situation. Though whatever the film initially had going for it gets ruined as it derails pretty quickly. The first act gets repetitive as it's scene after scene of a helpless Mia following Kellen's orders and watching images of her friends tied up and about to be harmed. And the one thing I wondered during this entire time is why Mia, who's established to be huge on social media and is known to document just about everything around her, doesn't even attempt for the most part to try doing a live stream or try to film anything that would be evidence early on so that it may help her later in the film, and she's instead limited to just being a powerless person who happens to have a history of ignoring her friends and family, which makes her an ultimately boring protagonist. Though while I described the first act as being at best mediocre, the film quickly takes an even bigger nosedive in quality, as what happens is, in the second act, it begins to introduce one plot twist after another. The film becomes a series of big reveals and surprise motivations, and it develops a keen interest in repeatedly psyching the audience out to the point of confusion. There are details that are revealed to be potentially fake as a way of messing with Mia, only for that supposedly fake thing to then end up actually happening a few minutes later. Then something else is revealed to be a joke, then there's another big reveal, then there's another psych out moment, and so on and so forth. And you begin to lose track of who's in on what, who's motivated by what, and what the true purpose of anything is. There's a good half hour or so that's nothing but total confusion. And even when you finally get some answers in the last 20 minutes to a half hour, and some of the pieces start coming together, it still feels like there's a disconnect. Even though we eventually get why something's happening, it's never made totally clear why it led to some of the decisions made in earlier parts of the movie. And it just concludes on a note that's anything but emotionally satisfying. Unfortunately, this is another swing and a miss for Shudder. There's a good idea in here about using a horror lens to talk about how toxic social media can be, but it does nothing really intriguing with that subject. It doesn't take advantage of its protagonist's more interesting qualities, it struggles to have an identity of its own, it's very repetitive in some areas while being totally confusing in other areas. It's an overall very frustrating experience, and one that I unfortunately can't recommend. Shook gets a 2.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Shook, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you find it scary? Have you seen anything good on Shudder lately? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.